The Young and the Restless Spoilers. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today is a beautiful day, but things are getting incredibly dark in the soap world. So grab your coffee and let's dive right into the absolute madness that is happening on our screens today. And let me just tell you guys right now, I am completely exhausted. I have been staring at this screen for hours trying to process what the writers are actually doing to us this week. So we need to talk about Nick Newman. We all saw the horrific crash. We all saw him hallucinating Matt Clark and driving his car straight off a cliff because of that fentanyl trap that Matt set up. It was brutal and visceral, and honestly one of the most intense stunts the show has pulled in a long time. The wreckage was terrifying. The smoke pouring out of the engine, Nick just lying there completely broken. And now he is in the hospital. He is in a deep, deep coma. The doctors are running around in a total panic. The machines are beeping constantly, and the family is just losing their absolute minds in the waiting room. It is a total nightmare for the Newman family. But honestly, it gets so much worse than just a car crash. Because Nick didn't just bump his head in that wreck, he lost a massive amount of blood. Like, a catastrophic amount of blood. The kind of blood loss where the doctors are literally sprinting down the hallways, yelling for trauma surgeons. And the medical staff is panicking because they need a blood transfusion immediately. And not just any blood from the bank, they are rushing the family in to see who is a direct match because his condition is that critical. The urgency is just pouring off the screen in waves. You can feel the sheer panic. You guys know exactly how these hospital scenes go. The dramatic fluorescent lighting, the doctor with the grim look on his face holding a clipboard, the family huddled together crying. It is classic daytime drama, but the stakes feel so much higher this time around. Maybe it is because Nick has been spiraling for so long with this addiction storyline, and now it is culminating in this terrifying life or death moment. So the doctor comes rushing out of the trauma bay and says they need family members to step up right this second. Immediately. No time to waste. Victoria and Victor are right there in the waiting room. Of course they are. They are Newmans. They always circle the wagons when one of their own is down. Victoria is crying her eyes out, and Victor is doing his classic stoic, jaw-clenching thing that he always does when his empire or his family is threatened. They both immediately roll up their sleeves. They demand to be tested right then and there. Victor is probably barking orders at the poor nurses, yelling at them to do whatever it takes to save his son. And you would think, okay, this is a standard soap opera medical crisis. Someone matches, they do the transfusion, Nick wakes up eventually, and we all move on to the next storyline. But no. The writers are throwing a bomb at us today. A literal nuclear bomb that is going to shatter the entire foundation of this show. They run the blood tests. They do a rapid DNA cross-check, because that is apparently how Genoa City Memorial Hospital operates when Victor Newman is screaming at the staff to move faster. And the results come back from the lab. The doctor walks back into the waiting room, and he looks absolutely terrified, because he knows he has to deliver news to Victor Newman, and it is not just about blood types or transfusions anymore. It is about genetics. The doctor looks at Victor, looks down at the medical chart, looks back at Victor, and drops the heaviest, most shocking anvil this show has seen in decades. The DNA test reveals a massive anomaly, a world-shattering anomaly. Victoria and Victor were tested, right? And the doctor has to nervously explain that while Victoria might share some genetic markers, Victor's DNA does not match Nick's at all. Let that sink in for a second. Let that just wash over you. Nick Newman, the golden boy, the heir apparent, the man who has carried the Newman name with all its heavy, toxic baggage for his entire life, is not Victor Newman's biological son. What in the actual world were the writers thinking? I mean, I am sitting here typing this, and my hands are literally shaking because I cannot believe they are actually going there. Decades of established history, decades of Victor and Nick butting heads, fighting over the company, fighting over women, fighting over what it actually means to be a true Newman. How many times have we heard Victor yell, "You are my son, Nicholas," at the top of his lungs? How many times? Hundreds? Thousands? And now, it is a lie. It is all a massive, decades-long lie. And my first thought is, wait, is this a mistake? Is the lab tech just incompetent? Did Matt Clark somehow hack the hospital database to mess with them from afar? I mean, honestly, I wouldn't put it past Matt at this point, because that guy is a total psychopath. But no, the show is playing this completely straight. The test is real. The DNA is undeniable. Victor is not the father. I can't even process it. I need a minute. Okay? Deep breath. Let's look at the reality of this situation. If Victor isn't the father, who on earth is? Let's rewind the clock. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning. Nikki and Victor's history is messy. Like, incredibly, unbelievably messy. Remember when Victor first met Nikki and he was literally pretending to be a butler? Remember when Nikki lied and said Kevin was Victoria's father for years? Lies about paternity are literally the foundation of their entire toxic relationship. But Nick was supposed to be the solid one, the true, undisputed Newman heir. But Nikki was a wild child back in the day. She had affairs. She had secrets. Could it be Paul Williams? Could it be? Oh my God. Could it be Jack Abbott? If Jack Abbott turns out to be Nick's biological father, I am going to lose my absolute mind. I am going to throw my laptop out the window and scream. Because that would mean Nick and Kyle are brothers. That would mean the entire Newman versus Abbott rivalry has been built on a complete illusion for the last 40 years. But honestly, it would explain so much, wouldn't it? It would explain why Nick has always had a slightly softer edge than Adam. Why Victor has always secretly favored Adam's utter ruthlessness in business. Maybe Victor subconsciously knew? No, that is giving him way too much credit. Victor is genuinely blindsided here. He had no idea. So back to the hospital scene. The doctor drops this massive bomb. And you guys, the look on Victor's face. Eric Braeden is an absolute legend. We all know this. But the sheer terror, confusion, and then instantaneous, boiling rage that flashes across his face in that moment is genuinely terrifying to watch. He doesn't just get mad, he goes completely feral. Because Victor Newman's entire identity is built on his legacy, his bloodline, his absolute control over his family. And in one single second, that control is ripped away from him completely. The son he has tried to mold in his own ruthless image for 40 years is carrying a stranger's blood. And then there is the immediate medical crisis that everyone seems to be forgetting for a second. We can't forget that Nick is literally bleeding out in the other room. He is in a deep coma. The doctor is standing there stammering, saying, "Mr. Newman, you are not a match. You are not his biological father. We need to find the real father, or another match, immediately, or he is going to die." So now, there is a terrifying ticking clock. Who is going to save Nick? Victoria might not be a full match if they only share a mother. What about Noah? Summer? Faith? They need to start testing the kids right now. But the sheer chaos of the paternity reveal is completely overshadowing the medical emergency. And this is where the episode just goes completely off the rails into dark, incredibly dark territory. Victor turns to Nikki. Nikki, who is already sobbing uncontrollably, already broken because her son is dying right down the hall. She is standing there, frail, having just gotten her eyesight back recently, dealing with all this immense trauma. And Victor just snaps. He doesn't ask her gently. He doesn't pull her aside into a private room to discuss it like a rational human being. He lunges at her. Victor physically attacks Nikki right there in the hospital waiting room. He grabs her by the throat. He is literally choking her. What is this? What is the meaning of this? He is screaming at the top of his lungs. Why am I not his biological father? It is so violent and so shocking. I know Victor has a dark side. We all know he locked a guy in a dungeon once. We know he does terrible, ruthless things to his enemies. But to put his hands on Nikki? To choke the love of his life while their son is dying in the next room? It is a level of brutality that honestly made me gasp out loud at my screen. And Nikki is gasping for air, clawing desperately at his hands, crying, "Victor, stop! I don't know. I don't know." Does she really not know? Did she bury this secret so deep in her mind that she convinced herself Victor was the father all these years? Or is she just as shocked as he is? Maybe she was drugged back in the day? Maybe it was an assault she completely blocked out of her memory? Or maybe she had an affair and just rolled the dice and prayed the baby was Victor's because it was easier. Women on soaps do that all the time, let's be real. But the sheer violence of Victor's reaction, it is so hard to watch. It really is deeply disturbing. Victoria is screaming, trying to pull her massive father off her frail mother. The hospital security is probably rushing in from the elevators. It is absolute pandemonium in that waiting room. And meanwhile, Nick is just lying there in a coma, completely unaware that his entire identity, his entire family structure, is being blown to absolute pieces out in the hallway. He is fighting for his life while his parents are literally tearing each other apart over a secret from decades ago. I have to ask, what are the writers doing to the Newman family right now? First, they have Nick spiraling into a horrifying fentanyl addiction. Then they have him crashing a car off a cliff. And now they are stripping him of his Newman name and his entire heritage. It feels like a systematic, deliberate destruction of Nick Newman. And honestly, I am here for the drama. I love the mess, but I am also exhausted by it. How much more can this poor guy take? If he wakes up from this coma, and that is a massive IF right now, considering the blood loss, he is going to wake up to a world where his father just tried to strangle his mother, and oh yeah, that man isn't even his father anymore. Let's talk about the blood donor situation again, because that is the immediate plot point that needs resolving. If Victor can't donate, they need someone else. Fast. This is the perfect setup to bring the real biological father onto the canvas, or to have a dramatic reveal where someone unexpected steps up to the plate. If it is Jack Abbott, imagine Jack rolling up his sleeve to save Victor's son, only to find out it is actually his own biological son. The poetic justice of that would be absolutely insane. Victor would literally owe Jack Abbott his son's life. Victor would rather die 1,000 deaths than owe Jack Abbott anything, let alone his son's existence. Or what if it is someone worse? What if it is someone tied to Matt Clark? No, that doesn't make sense chronologically. Matt is too young. But you get what I mean. The possibilities are endless and terrifying. The fans on social media are going to absolutely riot over this. I can already see the Twitter threads forming. You can't rewrite 40 years of history. Nick is a true Newman. But honestly, soaps rewrite history all the time. Remember when they tried to say Jill was Catherine's daughter, and then they walked it back a few years later? Maybe this is a fake out. Maybe the test was tampered with by someone who wants to destroy the Newmans from the inside. But what if it is not a fake out? What if this is the new, permanent reality of Genoa City? How does Victor look at Nick after this? We all know Victor's love is highly conditional. It always has been. He loves his children as extensions of his own massive ego. If Nick is not his blood, does Victor just discard him like trash? Does he cut him out of the will immediately? Out of Newman Enterprises? Of course he does. Victor is petty and vindictive and cruel. He will probably blame Nick for something he had absolutely no control over, just because Nick represents Nikki's ultimate betrayal. And poor Nikki, she has been through so much lately. The MS flare-ups, the alcoholism relapses, the blindness, the kidnapping by Patty Williams, and now her husband is choking her in a public hospital hallway because of a secret from decades ago. I honestly do not know how their marriage survives this. We always say Victor and Nikki are endgame. They always find their way back to each other, no matter what. They literally just agreed to a fresh start. They were planning a romantic vow renewal in Venice, and now he is literally strangling her. There is no coming back from that. At least, there shouldn't be. If Nikki stays with him after this, I am going to be so mad. This whole storyline is just a massive, messy, beautiful, horrifying disaster. It is exactly why we watch daytime television, even when we are tired and complaining about the writing choices. Because they drop a bomb like Nick is not Victor's son, and suddenly we are all glued to our screens, screaming at the TV, texting our friends in all caps. I mean, who actually believes this is going to end well for anyone involved? Nobody. It is going to be an absolute bloodbath, emotionally and probably literally. So what happens tomorrow? Does hospital security manage to pull Victor off Nikki before he does serious damage? Does the doctor find a blood match in time? Does Nick flatline on the table? I am so stressed out just thinking about it. And Adam? Oh my god, we have to talk about Adam. When Adam finds out he is the only true biological Newman son left, he is going to be so unbelievably smug. Or maybe, just maybe, he will actually feel bad for Nick. Adam has been trying to save Nick from Matt Clark lately. This might actually bond the brothers in a weird way, or it might destroy their fragile truce completely. I don't know, you guys. I am just rambling at this point. I just can't get the image of Victor choking Nikki out of my head. It is so dark, so twisted, and the paternity reveal is just the cherry on top of this chaotic, miserable Sunday. We are in for an incredibly wild ride over the next few weeks. The fallout from this is going to touch every single character on the canvas. Jack, Diane, Victoria, Adam, Summer, Noah. Everyone's lives are about to change because of this one blood test. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you think is Nick's real father? Is the DNA test fake? Will Nick even survive the coma to find out the truth? I need all your theories because my brain is completely fried from watching this episode. I need to go lie down. Until next time, stay safe, try to breathe, and keep watching the drama unfold.